to our next session, which is on enabling a future workforce. Taking the stage is Mr. Amit Nevatia from the Educate program lead at Amazon Internet Services. He'll be joined by Mr. Divesh Kamboj, the VP of IT at Sharda Group of Institutions.
Some of the topics or the points that I have gathered from the morning session, and I would like to just put the context to what I'm going to present further, is one, we've talked about a lot about technology in education, right? What is the role of technology? How can technology enable education? How can technology play a role in helping students with the learning outcomes, right? The second aspect that we've heard since morning is on the fact that the values and the culture that we need to imbibe into our students. And the third is all about online learning. I think the previous panel deliberated along about the merits and demerits of open courses and online learning. But I think what fundamentally I'm going to speak a little bit about, though I'm not an expert from the teaching community, is what is it that we need to do to enable the future workforce, right? We have been talking about the essence of the revolution that we need to bring in education, the fact that there is a need for change, there is a need for transformation, and all this boils down to the fact that our youth needs to be in the workforce with the right skills and the right core values that we want to imbibe into the education system, right? So I'll just start my session, and I'll also be joined by Divesh as one of our co-speakers with me. And he'll also throw light on what his university, which is Sharda University, is doing in this area. This video was just to show you a snapshot of what AWS is doing in the area of education and how we are working with various segments in the education system, whether it's the K-12 segment or it's the higher education space, or it's the online learning space, or it's about the learning companies and the research and R&D which goes around in the education space. These are just a snapshot of a small list of the customers that we have. But what is the advantage that AWS brings onto the table for education institutions? I think the most important thing that we understand from an education perspective is education needs to be flexible, it needs to be adaptive, and costs are always a concern in terms of economics of education, right? And these are the choices that AWS offers to our customers in the education space. It's all about the agility to be able to adapt to newer changes at a faster pace. It's all about cost savings and putting that money more into the core competence of the education institutions rather than putting it on the infrastructure side. It's about elasticity in terms of growing and or adapting to the growth and the troughs that we might see in our seasonal businesses. Going global, I think most of the institutions today want to go global and cater to students across the globe and keep it as secure as possible whenever there is a concern that is raised by the institutions. So as AWS, we cater to all the segments as listed out here. When we talk about K-12 schools, they are looking at using technology to streamline their IT operations and be more reachable to the parents of students. How can parents interact in a much more free and transparent manner with the school teachers, with the school administration? In the higher education, it's more about accelerating research, because a lot of universities would want to get into the area of research and come up with innovative solutions with the projects that the students can work on, which gives them the live experience of what the industry looks at and also solve real life problems in the areas and in the catchment areas of their institutions. EdTechs are innovating largely. We have seen India has become a very large contributor to the startup community in the world, and a lot of EdTechs like the Byju's, for example, have innovated on the learning space as far as technology is concerned. Similarly, you have learning companies which are again using the digital content and taking it to masses. These are some of the use cases that we would like to share in terms of how some of the educational institutions, and when I say education institution, it's not specifically only about the college or university, it's about all the stakeholders, organizations which are playing a role in the education segment overall. Right? So, for example, the Akash Institute, which is more into the test prep business, has been using AWS to not only reach out to more and more students, but also streamline the learning outcomes for personalized learning. Right? And I think we've heard since morning a lot about personalized learning and concentrating on the learning outcomes of each and every individual student, because every student has a different learning pace and a different learning style, right? Similarly, if you look at Byju's uses one of our services known as Redshift to again personalize the learning for their students and show them the content which is relevant to them by clearing, so they conduct an assessment, and based on that assessment, they analyze the students' learning patterns, and then the content is shown to them based on that particular basis. Similarly, if you look at Manipal, one of our the institutions in terms of the university, they are also utilizing the AWS services to not only reduce their IT costs but also manage their websites and their online products which they offer to their students by reducing the downtime, increasing the support and the services that are given to the students. If you look at AWS today, 96% of doctoral universities, when I say doctoral universities, it means primarily the research universities which are concentrating highly on the research globally, are using AWS for their research work. What it provides is you the flexibility and the availability of resources at your choice. So you don't need to invest heavily into large GPU servers or large servers to do any kind of research. You can do that within minutes and also save costs around your research activities. Now, when we look at building the future workforce, these are some of very, I would say, stunning surveys which have been conducted world over by World Economic Forum, by Gartner, by LinkedIn, which basically estimates that there's going to be a shortage of skilled manpower. And we heard about the industry and academic connect in the morning that industry people should be coming to the academic institutions and the academicians should be allowed to come to the industry and exchange the real life world, the real life skills that are required. Now these are some of the stats which again Gartner has shared. I think there's going to be a demand for cloud computing skills. In fact, if you read today's Times of India in the morning in Delhi, it has an article which says that there will be a requirement of 1 million cloud computing professionals in India itself by 2022. Right? And are we looking at our institutions making our students ready for that? Is something which we need to really think hard about. So again, for building the future workforce, these are some of the 8 identified areas which PwC in its annual Global CEO Survey mentioned. These are again areas of emerging technologies, and like artificial intelligence, people are talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think that's become a buzzword everywhere. Augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain, 3D printing, drones and robotics, and Internet of Things. These are the 8 areas of emerging technologies where organizations would require these skill sets in the workforce, and they would want the workforce to have these skills to be able to employ them. And we have this program as AWS, known as AWS Educate, which works with the education institutions to help them with not only the content. I think we heard a lot of questions around whether we have the right content available for making our students skilled. So this program, it's a free program. There is no commercials attached to it. The only intention is that we should be able to create the right kind of skills on emerging technologies in our future workforce. Right? It provides you with the curated content. It also provides you with access to hands-on labs. The students can actually do their projects and have that real-life experience of managing and creating solutions using AWS. It's not just about theory and going through videos, but actually getting your hands dirty. Most importantly, we also heard since morning that teachers play a very important role, right? And this program is a combination where we also look at the teachers to do their own professional development and then handhold the students in their journey of picking up the skills. It is not a program where we are saying that we are detaching ourselves from the Guru Shishya Parampara that we have in our DNA in India. So teachers play a very important role, the faculty plays a very important role for us, and they are the first ones that we would want to actually adapt and learn the new age technology skills so that they can then help the students in their learning journey. So the faculties get their content, which is a little more deep in the areas of these technologies than the students. They also get the hands-on experience and they can play around with the services that AWS offers. They also have a community portal, so they can actually exchange their ideas with all the faculty members on the program across the globe. So it's more of a collaboration tool that they have access to. And most importantly, AWS invests into this program by providing cloud credits to both students and faculty members, so you don't have to worry about paying any bill at the end of the day for any usage of AWS services. So we provide up to $200 of credit per year for a faculty and up to $100 of credit per student per year. So they can feel free and go ahead and do their practicals and do their projects. Apart from that, this portal also has an inbuilt job board, which means that our customers and partners who have given us feedback that they want to recruit freshers with the required skill sets that they want in these emerging technologies, they post their job requirements on the portal, and as soon as a student completes his learning, he can actually then apply for these jobs within the portal itself. Okay? And as of today, we have more than 2,400 institutions across the globe which are part of this program, hundreds and thousands of students, which also provides you an opportunity to build cloud labs within your institution. So you can actually have a machine learning lab, you can create a big data lab, you can create an IoT lab, you can create a robotics lab, these are virtual labs that you create for giving projects to students and monitor their progress during their project period. Okay? And these are all available to you at the click of a button. You just need to register yourself and get access. Some of the institutions in India, if you look at we are associated with, for example, IIT Kharagpur, They have been part of this program, and they've also launched a specific machine learning program for their students, which is a diploma program, an additional diploma program that they have launched using our content, and they've created a cloud lab on machine learning. And right now they've launched this first batch of 120 students who are going through this particular program at IIT Kharagpur. Similarly, if you look at IIT BHU, they have signed an MOU with us under the presence of the HRD minister, and they've actually created a cloud research lab where what they are doing is they're getting the students to go out in the field, go and contact some NGOs in the local areas, get some data, get their problem statement, and then you come back to this cloud research lab and try and create solutions around the problem statements that are being given to them by the local NGOs there. It could be in agriculture, it could be in healthcare, it could be in government to citizen services, it could be any area which actually affects the local population in and around that university, right? So opportunities, when we look at education, what are the opportunities that we're looking at beyond just the infrastructure piece? We are looking at student engagement. So we have voice technologies are catching up. You've heard about Alexa. We are doing a lot of work with institutions to enable learning process through voice, right? And one of the case studies that we are working on is about how do we enable visually impaired students to actually complete their learning process using voice interactions. Okay? Cloud innovation centers is what you can look at, research labs, digital equity and machine learning to improve your student outcomes, and also look at predicting the success rate of your students. In fact, one of the colleges, Ivy Tech College in the US, uses one of our services to predict the pass-fail rate of students. And then looking at that report, they look at those students who are not probable to pass the semester exam, and they work separately with them in a focused manner to be able to help them in their areas of weakness and help them complete the course. So this is the role of what technology can do in terms of not only providing you learning content and providing the skills, but at the same time helping the institutions, the faculty and the deans to look at more of a predictive analysis on how their students are learning, what kind of personalized learning can I offer to them, and look at an overall infrastructure and an environment of emerging technology in the institutions, right? When we talk about these technologies, we also have to think about walk the talk, right? We just should not push everything to the students. It is also about we adopting these technologies so that we can show them the experience along with it. So I will now like to call upon my colleague, my co-speaker, Divesh, and talk about his experience and his journey on the cloud as far as Sharda University is concerned.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to all of you. Today in this session, I will be taking you through an exciting journey of Sharda University. And that journey is actually about the journey to the AWS cloud. So it will be a really roller coaster ride, but in the end, it will be all good and happy faces that you'll see. So let's start. Sharda University was established in the Greater Noida region. We have around 20,000 plus students. The campus is spread across 63 acres of land, and we offer around 180 plus courses. The students that we have are actually from 46 plus different nationalities. About Sharda Tech. So Sharda Tech is actually the technology arm of Sharda Group. It was established in 2016, and this has been really instrumental in actually implementing the AWS solutions in the Sharda Group. So let's talk about the journey now. Okay, before the journey, let's talk about the challenges, because before we start any journey, we have to actually look at the challenges we are facing, because of which we decided to actually take on the cloud solutions. The first and foremost problem that we were facing was our aging data centers. Now, the data center that we had was acquired or was purchased actually in 2009, It has been like 10 years and it was giving us continuous problems. There were downtimes, hardware crashes, there were disk crashes, and it required a major upgrade. Now we wanted a reliable infrastructure, so we had only two options, whether to procure a new hardware or to look at some futuristic solution just like cloud, or to say AWS cloud. The second problem that we were facing was related to the network and the backup. Our network was actually not very much consistent. There were a lot of drops in the packets, and this was actually causing frequent issues. Sometimes, if we, let's say, schedule a backup in the night, by the morning we discover that the backup has crashed because of one reason or another, or maybe there was some problem in the network that actually caused it to crash. So all of this actually caused us a very big kind of issues when we actually look at the maintenance perspective. We wanted a stable network. That was the second challenge we were facing. The third, research and development. As Amit has rightly mentioned, and I think many of the esteemed guests have mentioned, there's an increased focus on research and development. But you actually cannot just start with any research or development activity until unless you do a proof of concept. Now the major challenge for proof of concepts, let's say if you want to do something on the big data or if you want to do something on the machine learning, you need some kind of an infrastructure. Now, in the institutions, you have to actually go through a purchase plan. Now these purchase plans are actually more long-term driven rather than the short-term. We wanted some kind of flexible options that would actually help us do those proof of concepts, and once that is done, we can actually scrap that off. Fourth problem, or the fourth challenge that we were facing was the slowness and the downtimes. Our applications were actually hosted on a very slow infrastructure. There were a lot of memory issues, there were a lot of other issues on the CPU front. This all actually caused a lot of slowness, and this led to a lot of user frustration. At times when the admissions are going on, or when the payroll is running, or there is any major jump in the traffic, that time you were also getting the downtimes. Sometimes the downtimes are even caused by the hard disk crashes. However, they were rare, but still there was a major irritation on that front. Lastly, there was a huge need of a skilled manpower to maintain these data centers. This hiring was slow. As you might be aware, in many institutions, the hiring process is very complicated and it's a bit slow. And there was a feeling of lack of control because skilled manpower or the manpower we needed wasn't available right out of the box. So, what we decided? We started to actually do some kind of a research on the solutions which are available in the market. We actually analyzed a couple of cloud solutions. However, we fixed on AWS because of the capabilities or the mature capabilities it offers. Once AWS finalized, we actually decided to take on this journey to cloud. So let's talk about this journey now. All right. So when we charted out this journey, we planned it in 3 steps. From October 2018, where we were at a stage of slow application, which were hosted on an aging infrastructure, we actually moved to March 2019, where we had the fast response solution on the modern architecture of AWS cloud. But how did we make this journey in 6 months? So we started with the step 1. The step 1 was primarily based upon the analysis. So you have to actually go through your infrastructure, you have to analyze all the requirement that you need, what kind of machines you need, what kind of performance you need, all that analysis needs to be done. You have to find out the platform. Your applications are hosted on different platforms, so if you have a set of 3 or 4 different vendors of application, they might be hosted on different platforms, on different machines also. So we have to analyze the platform, the operating systems, etc. Third, very important, in a very complicated environment or very big universities, you have a lot of integration with the third-party applications. So you have to actually analyze the integration architecture of that also. Because in cloud environment, when you are actually moving your local data center to the internet, you have to know the kind of integration challenges that it will pose to you. Security, definitely the #1 issue on many of the universities, especially from the public sector or from the government institutions, but about the security. We don't want our data to go out of our data centers and how secure the data will be. So definitely look at the security standpoint. Lastly, application dependencies. So let's say if you have your core ERP application, you have your website layer, you have your mobile layer, you have your LMS layer, all these different layers, these different applications, they have to have certain kind of dependencies in an integrated environment. Do identify that because this I will be covering in step 3. So once you are done with the step 1 completely, we transition into step 2. So we move to step 2. So in the step 2, what you have to do some proof of concepts. So test the waters first before you take the plunge. So we did a couple of proof of concepts. Second part that we did is we actually conducted a dry run. So those who are from the technical field, they might understand that dry run is basically a practice match before you play the main match. It's practice match before the finale. So you have to do some kind of a dry runs. And in those dry runs, you also have to make sure that the users are available to test your systems. It's absolutely critical that you form a core team around it so that your dry runs can be tested perfectly. Third party, as I said, the third party vendors are the major stakeholders in this particular migration. Just speak to them so that they will also take an active part in this journey. They can actually help you in the integration, testing, the development environments and all that. And finally, you have to test the security. After this, we move to the step 3. In step 3, what we do is we actually plan the migration to production. So in the more technical terms, we call it as a cutover. So you have to migrate the application in phases. So it's your choice whether you want to go a big bang or you want to go in phases. It all depends how successful your phase 2 is. We decided to do it in phases. So we moved our website first, followed by the mobile application, followed by the LMS and other systems, and the last we migrated our ERP systems. So this was done in actually third phase. So migrate them in phases. Once you migrate, configure the security. And I think this is the most critical part where probably AWS or any other vendor that you are partnering with can help you. Monitor the performance, another very important. So let's say you migrated to the newer infrastructure, but in future you realize that you really need to actually upgrade that particular system. So do look at the performance of your systems. So do it for the next 2 to 3 months. And the last step that you have to do is optimize the cost. So once you have actually done all the migration, you have tested, configured the security, monitored the performance, then look for the options to optimize the cost, because that's where your ROI comes in. After this, we were in the March 2019, and I'm really happy to say that we have gained a lot of benefits out of that I'll cover in the next slide.
So you really need to wrap it up. We already shot past a lot.
All right, so just the 2 slides.
I'd really like if you could just wrap it up in like 2-3 sentences, because we're way past time.
All right. So what all we covered is, so there were 5 major benefits that we had. We had a reliable infrastructure. We also got the ASO backup. We use actually the scalable architecture because now we can ready our instances in a matter of minutes. It's pretty much fast and secure, as you can see from the various channels that we used. And lastly, the console of AWS is very comfortable, so you can actually have a minimum number of people to actually manage it. You just need to have a small training or a transition cycle. After that, a minimum number of people can actually manage it. This is the last slide, so I think I'll wrap it up in a few seconds. So why AWS Cloud? Many of the university, many of the people ask us, or just say why cloud itself. The first thing, you have to make your applications future ready. So cloud is actually the way to go, even though we have these data centers, but I've spoken to many of the institutions and all of them are facing an issue one way or the other after it passes the age of 5 years. So get fast, get reliable, and for R&D perspective, POC perspective, you can create or drop instances on demand. So that's very important. So if I give you some figures, our user experience has increased by 30%, and the availability of the application and the usage of the system has increased by 25%. From the AWS Educate perspective, Amit has already mentioned a lot of things about that. So we have also started on this particular program, and I'm happy to say that we are progressing in that direction. So with that, I'll conclude this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Divesh. I ask